weighs the pluses and minuses to maybe trying to get Baker back in the fold. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but, it would seem to me that, if they're now forecasting maybe a season-long suspension for Watson, it might be something worth exploring.
So the reason why Carolina didn't agree to the discounted Baker Mayfield rate is because why? Because they're half of Mayfield getting it at half of the fifth-year option price is still too steep because they already have a quarterback on the fifth-year option price in Donald. Is that it?
I think that there's that element of it. I don't know how close they were on draft pick compensation or anything like that.
Right.
But, I do think that there's if we felt like it's like if you feel like you're getting a deal, then go ahead and do the deal. You know what I mean? And it's worth taking the extra swing. I also think there was value for Carolina though in getting a full off-season program, with a look at Sam Darnold and Ben McAdoo's offense, because McAdoo's articulated to people in that building that he thinks he can work with Sam, and then also getting a clear look at Matt Corral, who has some off-field questions and everything else, but is talented, and maybe should have gone a little higher than he went there in the third round. And so, I think for both Carolina and Seattle, there was an element of wanting to get a good long look at the guys that are already in your building. And both teams were able to do that over the last 9 weeks. And lo and behold, here we are. And, we're in the back half of June now, and Baker Mayfield's still out there and Jimmy Garoppolo's still out there. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes over the next few weeks, because now where teams are, Rich, is like with the offseason program done, every team has a chance to sort of reassess based on the 9 weeks of data that the offseason program gave them. And certainly that includes, the amount of information that both those teams were able to gather on their quarterbacks over the last 9 weeks.
Albert Breer here on the Rich Eisen Show. So where does everything stand with Deshaun Watson right now, best you can tell, Albert?
Yeah, I think, the league, my feeling's been that July's sort of been the target all along. Because, and I think you and I have talked about this before, there's the pretrial discovery deadline at the end of this month, that the league would feel, and the investigators too, Sue Robinson, the former U.S. District Court judge who's running the investigation, is going to give the initial finding. I think they'd feel a little bit more comfortable once they get past that pretrial discovery deadline, because it's not going to be complete. I don't think it's ever going to be complete, this year, because it looks like the lawsuits are going to carry into 2023. But at least then you feel comfortable that you have, I would say, a good percentage of the information that's going to come out. So I felt all along they'd let that deadline pass, and then at some point in July we get a decision. I think the question now becomes, what's happened over the last week and a half, does that make you skittish enough where you're like, oh, God, what else is going to happen? Is something really significant going to happen in August or September? That's why my feeling is they're still going to, whatever the punishment is, the sanctions are, they're probably going to leave things pretty open-ended in saying the commissioner reserves the right to the commissioner reserves the right to alter the punishment in some way if new information becomes available. I still don't think that they want to use the commissioner's exempt list, but it remains a lever out there that Roger could pull if he really does feel uncomfortable and he wants to put Deshaun on paid leave. And then I think certainly the idea of giving him a full year suspension, I think this is something that's probably been discussed in the league office by now. The NFL could then couch it as, well, we sat Deshaun Deshaun had a de facto year off last year, and now, we're going to suspend him for a year. So, you add up the time away from the game, and it's equivalent to what MLB did to Trevor Bauer.
Well, it's not just, and it's interesting you mentioned the Trevor Bauer name there, but it's not just the court of public opinion. It's the extra and soon to be more civil cases coming. It's not just that also. It's also Deshaun Watson's inability to explain himself in a coherent manner or a convincing manner in the court of public opinion. It just keeps mounting. And his also desire, as he says, to clear his name and how long that will take.
Right.
That this is something that is an open-ended question, not just for the rest of this calendar year, but could go into next calendar year as well. And one story that didn't get much run, or soundbite that didn't get much run this week that I'd like to ask you about, was Nick Caserio, the GM of the Texans, being asked if the trade could be voided. And he essentially gave the answer of no backsies, to use the phrase that I think that many people are familiar with in the world. Are the Browns having escrow buyer's remorse at all on this?
I haven't heard the no backsies thing in a while, Rich. So thanks for bringing me back to the 80s there.
You're welcome.
I honestly, I don't think, I haven't sensed any yet. Is it possible it happens? Yeah. But that's why I think it's so important, and we may never get the answer to this, right? But that's why I think how honest and forthright Deshaun has been with the NFL, and how honest and forthright Deshaun has been with the Browns is so incredibly relevant here. It could, the way these contracts are written, it could void guarantees in his contract. I don't think that there's any possibility he gets traded back to the trade gets voided and he gets sent back to the Texans, because I think it was pretty clear there was a lot going on here, and it's not like the Browns went into this blindly and this is all of a sudden coming out of nowhere. They knew the risk. This isn't, and the fact that more information can come out, we all knew that back in March, So I don't think there's any chance that the trade gets voided, especially since the Texans have already used one of those draft picks. But could the guarantees get voided? Based on what I know about NFL contract language, if Deshaun wasn't forthright, with the Browns about, what could be coming, about what was out there, about what happened in any of these cases, well, then that exists. And then on the league level, if he wasn't forthright with the league, history tells us that the NFL comes down harder on guys who are not completely truthful with them. And the reason why is because the NFL lacks subpoena power. So if they want their investigations to have teeth, they have to create deterrence for people lying or misleading them, And so I think this thing for Deshaun personally gets considerably messier if he wasn't completely forthright and honest with the NFL and the Browns. And maybe the Browns won't come down on him because he's their guy now and everything else. But I certainly think the NFL will, and maybe both of them will.
Albert, you're the man. Have a great Father's Day weekend, and I hope you get whatever joy from the weekend that you deserve. And let's chat in July. Let's
absolutely, and happy Father's Day to you and everybody on the show. All right, Rich.
Thanks, brother. Greatly appreciate it. That's Albert Breer, everybody, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, 844-204-RICH, number to dial. We'll take your phone calls when we come back here on the Rich Eisen Show before Tracy McGrady joins us in studio. Back here on the Rich Eisen Show, if it's a Friday on the Rich Eisen Show, and it is, it's time for the Verizon 5G Ultra Countdown. Top 5 stories of the sports week. Last night, while the finals was going down in the NBA, nobody beats the Riz. Anthony Rizzo, who I adore, gave the Yankees a 7th consecutive win and a sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays last night with a walk-off home run. The Yankees are now 31 games above 500, and I am mandated to point out Rizzo's former team is on a 10-game losing streak right now. Not to kick the Cubs while they're down, but man, thank you for Anthony Rizzo on behalf of everyone. And by the way, thank you to Freddie Freeman for taking all the Los Angeles Dodgers money. Anthony Rizzo and the Yankees, 31 games above 500. Number 4, Matt Fitzpatrick with a cross-handed chip for birdie on the 12th hole of the first round of the United States Open at Brookline, Massachusetts. He finished the round with a 68, just 2 strokes off the first round leader and Adam Hadwin. Just a lot of fun watching these top players in all the world go at it on such a beautiful course there in Brookline, Massachusetts. Number 3 on the list was the Game 5 buzzer beater by Jordan Poole. This kid has a knack for it. We saw it against Houston in the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago for Michigan. Pulled up from deep from 3 and beat the buzzer as the Warriors set themselves up for that Game 6 win that wrapped up the series last night. Number 2 on the list, the Stanley Cup Final. The one-timer from Andre Burakovsky lit the lamp for the Colorado Avalanche and kind of not only just broke the hearts of Tampa Bay Lightning fans, but all hockey fans that thought we were about to settle in for a full overtime period at least. Maybe got a double overtime. It was just a $123 and over. It's like, wait a minute, what happened?
It was so
I
fast.
was ready to sit here all night watching hockey. But unfortunately for the Lightning, it came to a quick end. And fortunately for the Avalanche, they are up 1-0 as we are currently speaking in this Verizon 5G Ultra Countdown on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then the number one story is, of course, the Golden State Warriors wrapping up the NBA season.